And I assume this is probably in relation to some of the stuff that you speak out about Israel-Gaza, and then
I don't even speak out about Israel and Gaza. Have you ever seen me speak out about it?
Well,
honestly,
you've been on platforms where the conversation obviously has been happening.
But what have I said about it?
You've talked about the rise in anti-Semitism.
Okay,
you've talked
agreed.
about how
agree that
Israel
I've said
is is an ally of America. I think you more or less like you understand the humanitarian crisis
completely,
but then you also say, hey, there's a little bit of nuance to this conversation.
Completely. and I am not an expert in it. And I have no business pontificating on it. And it's when I am.
But so if you
hit me.
You know what the thing about the death threats that I try to explain, because I think for the pro-Palestine people, I do believe that they're coming from a good place and saying, hey, we want to free these people that have been under this oppression, and now they're using some violence to justify, let's say, against you.
That's the irony. You're against violence, but you're threatening violence.
Right. And I say this is exactly, if you want to use that same argument, this is exactly the argument that Israel uses to dehumanize Palestinians, to say that these people are not good. It's better if we get rid of them. The world will be more free. And then they're doing that against you. It's like, hey, same for Charlie Kirk,
this,
right?
Though? Here would be my argument. And yes, I agree.
Right?
Same
they're
for Charlie
saying, hey,
Kirk.
the world would be better off without Charlie Kirk. You're doing the exact same things, except
so
for a
much to
different
talk to you
issue.
about, and we are going to get to it. But maybe this is equally as important. Here would be my question. Nobody is going to see what's happening in Gaza and be like, yeah, I've yet to meet the person. Even the people that are Israeli are like, we don't want this. Nobody wants this. By the way, I'm 70% Arab. So just to be clear, Syrian and Lebanese.
Yeah.
I know, I have an Arabic tattoo. But my point is, nobody wants this. But when it's like, look what they're doing. But then where is the part about, what about Hamas's charter of death to all Jews and from the river to the sea? Like, where is the equal concern?
So I think there is concern there, and I think the people who really know it even more than I know it.
I don't know it.
They will point out that, well, Hamas was funded by Israel. Netanyahu funded it. And that would be the counter argument to say, if you look at the wider
this is what I mean when I say I'm not an expert. I couldn't even begin to push back on you because that's the first time I've heard that.
Right. So then that's, if you understand the context, if you talk to a Dave Smith, he'll educate you on that kind of thing. It's like, hey, have you looked into
but somehow twice, but that didn't come up.
The historical context of Hamas is that they were propped up by the Israeli government to create this kind of terrorist organization on the other side to say, we can't deal with these people, versus the Palestinian Authority, which is a much more pacifist type of government.
A conspiracy theory, or is that...
No, this has been proven in mainstream reporting, like not just the fringe reporters. This is widely documented.
See, James, I don't know that stuff. And I will happily sit here and let you tell me that stuff. Where I take umbrage is when, okay, we can have this, all right, we can have this conversation, but we're not saying, I don't think we should celebrate people who praise the Al-Aqsa flood, who say from the river to the sea means death to all Jews. Like, can we not condemn that as well? Death to all Jews is all Jews. Nobody wants death for Palestinians. Nobody wants death for all Jews. How do we get, this is where I'm like, okay.
Right.
Come on, team. Is there...
Right. And for me, it's like, let's try to figure out a solution for peace, right? So then when things happen that are against peace, for example, Trump is talking about, we need to do a ceasefire deal. We need to release the hostages.
Right.
And then you have the hostage negotiators going to meet up and then they get bombed. That's not going to solve any issues.
Of course.
Right.
Agree.
And that's the kind of stuff that I try. So like when I speak about these things, I try to make it universalist in order to try to appeal to as many people as possible, to say this is beyond just a human rights issue. This is
Active Skin Repair utilizes a molecule called hypochlorous acid. Now, when you apply it to the skin, the molecule works by mimicking the natural immune response to cleanse, soothe irritation, reduce inflammation, and support healing. Active Skin Repair can be used to treat a wide range of skin issues, including cuts, scrapes, burns, sunburns, diaper rashes, and other types of skin damage. And it's also safe and non-toxic, making it suitable for use on all skin types, all parts of the body, and you can even use it on rosacea, eczema, and acne-prone skin. With over 500,000 happy customers, thousands of 5-star reviews, and ingredients so safe and clean they can be used by the youngest member of the family to the oldest, you now have one simple solution for all of your family's skin health needs. So visit ActiveSkinRepair.com to learn more about Active Skin Repair and to get 20% off your order. Use the code Jillian. Again, that's ActiveSkinRepair.com and the code is Jillian.
There's things that are just wrong.
Of course.
And we need to just acknowledge those things and get on the same page
and you know
about
what?
that. And like, for example, the river to the sea, right? That one side takes it as an annihilation of all Jews.
For sure.
But then that same phrase, if you go, I think it's still there. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't checked in a while, but Netanyahu's son on Instagram, that is his line.
The Likud party charter.
No,
for the Greater Israel Project?
No, just on his Instagram. You know how you have the little bio line on Instagram?
Okay.
His says, from the river to the sea.
Meaning we're going to take the whole thing over. But I can condemn both.
Yeah.
I'm asking for condemnation of both. That's what I'm asking for. Of anybody who says we're taking the whole thing, that should not be cool. That's what I'm saying. That should not be okay. Why are we dismissing all of these horrors that occur against Coptic people, against Christian people in the region, against the Druze? Like somehow you don't see it. It's just the evil Jews. That's when I'm like, I think you might be getting ideologically captured here. Where is your ability to see fault in all of this madness?
And I think that's the difference between, I would say, maybe like a journalist, which is, even though sometimes I try to, I'm obviously biased, but as a journalist, what you're trying to do is document versus an activist who are people out there trying to achieve a certain outcome. So I think that's where a lot of the more radical positions come from. It's people who are doing activism and saying we need to achieve this, regardless of what other byproduct side effects there might be, versus somebody who I see myself as just, I'm trying to put information out in the world so people can make better decisions for themselves.
Of course.
And so I'm not out there on the street.
This, by the way, is not a critique of you. I'm not saying, why don't you do that?
And I'm just trying to talk about the differences. I think where
I thought we were pussyfooting around each other, despite the fact that I think we could both handle a more intense conversation. I'm not biased. I think it's awful, period. I have both ethnicities in my blood. And that's where I can honestly say there's a lack of knowledge, which, ding, 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 which is why when I say this is not a debate, let's say, for example, I've had a million of them. Generally, they're supposed to be interviews. If you pull me into a segment about something, I'm going to tell you I'm not an expert. But if you've got one person just making an entire case for something and there's no one on the other side, I feel that's a bit irresponsible if I'm a part of that. But I'm always willing to learn more. When there is something, and you and I talked about this, like what happened on Her Take. And James, to be fair, your channel, you're like, there was this conspiracy theory. Turns out, guys, facts have changed. Okay, you made that video about Israel and Charlie Kirk's assassination saying, hey, new information. Here's the guy. This is what we know so far. We did the girls on Her Take insisted upon doing a segment about Israel and Charlie Kirk a week later, at least.
I don't know how often you guys shoot, so maybe that's the time you guys are getting around to it. I don't know the schedule, but
for me, my concern is this is largely debunked. So you've got Andrew Colvett, his business partner, saying no knowledge of anybody offering him $150 million. You got Alex Clark, who knew him so well, no knowledge of $150 million. Bill Ackman's like, I've got receipts if you want them. This is not true. So now you've got people coming forward saying, I've got receipts, I've got intimate knowledge. The Israel attacked Charlie Kirk thing, no, there's no evidence here. You've got 3 people who say, yeah, there's no evidence here. But then why are you doing the story if not to do what you did, was say, hey, Andrew, here's the guy. He turned himself in. Here's what we know so far.
And for the record, I think there's some fishy things going on with the guy, right?
I totally hear
all
you.
Kinds of weird evidence being...
And
Choose Function because it's the only health platform that gives you access to the kind of data most people never see and the insights to take effective action. Inside Function, you can test over 160 biomarkers, from heart and hormones to toxins and inflammation, even stress. You can also access multi-region MRI and CT scans, and they're all tracked in one secure place over time. It's a near 360 view to see what's happening in your body, and that's why top health leaders like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, Dr. Jeremy London, they're all behind Function Health. This is why I love Function Health. And you know what else? Lab visits are fast and convenient at 2,000 plus locations across the U.S. Just $499 a year, that's $1.37 per day for cutting-edge health insights. What sets Function apart? All the results are tracked over time in one secure place, so you see how your health evolves. Insights come from top doctors based on your unique results. These could cost over $10,000 if you did it on your own, and there are no perverse incentives. Function doesn't push supplements or pharmaceuticals. It's just powerful, unbiased health data designed to help you own your health. Learn more and join using my link, and the first 1,000 people get a $100 credit towards their membership. Visit www.functionhealth.com/Jillian or use the gift code Jillian at sign up to own your health.
And I see all that weird stuff, like where, the gap between firing the bullet and the bullet hitting him in the neck.
The text messages,
yes.
The size of the bullet, from what I understand from people who really know guns, they're like, this is a massive bullet. It's like this big.
Right.
You would basically blow your head off.
I've heard this. Okay.
Right? So there's a lot of evidence that doesn't add up.
But does it lead to Israel? Is there any evidence that says it leads to Israel?
I think it's a separate I think Israel is a separate conversation in terms of, do they have too much influence in American politics and American media? I think that is a separate conversation versus, like, did they hire a Mossad agent to take him out? Right? And that's, I think, there's a conflation of the topic when we're talking about Charlie Kirk. Because one thing is like did Israel hire a hitman to do this, versus like, hey, it seemed like he was having some tough conversations with his donors at Turning Point. And, Colvin did acknowledge, like, hey, we lost some donors because
he said very few of them were actually Jewish.
For platforming Tucker and Dave
but he
Smith.
said of the donors we lost, a lot of them weren't even Jewish.
Well, there's a lot of Christian Zionists that also, like, the evangelical Christians are also very supportive of Israel.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so if we were to game this out together,
mm-hmm.
and if you're going to take out somebody who is, against Israel, wouldn't that be Tucker? Wouldn't that be Candace? Charlie was one of their biggest advocates. I'm saying
he was one of the biggest. So, like, if I were to entertain that case, which I have, is that Charlie's organization is much more powerful than Tucker and Candace, because Charlie has not just a media arm, but he has a ground game operation to drive out the vote. Turning Point is, like, responsible for under 30 voter turnout for the Republican Party. So if he were to drive it in an anti-Israel position,
is against Israel.
And they don't want, that's not good for Israel, right? Because if everybody is, at some point, I think the politicians will react, hopefully, to the American public and say, we want to go in a different direction here. And that wouldn't be good, because we do arm, 80, 90, I don't know what the number is, but their operations relies on U.S.,
funding.
And
a person who knows more would explain to you the fact that they're the only democracy over there. I've heard the arguments, so I'm going to do my best. But as I said, I am not equipped to have this conversation, but I'll try.
Right.
Just for the sake of being responsible. They're the only democracy in that part of the world. We share technology and information. They're fighting a radical Islam, not the vast majority of Muslims who would not kill a fly kind of a thing. There is a radical extremist element there that exists. Radical left, radical right, radical Muslims, radical everything of any kind of ideology. There's a radical wing. They're taking that head on. They're doing, the dirty work over there that needs to be done. That would be kind of the argument. And then I would simply say, do you realize Qatar funds, more stuff here than Israel by a long shot. And there's a great article about it, how Qatar bought America. Where's the outrage?
Well, that's from Barry Weiss's Free Press.
But it
and
checks out.
I haven't gone deeply. I think
Go deeply.
I will go deeply into that.
You'll find that it's solid.
And I think the pushback from the other side would be, well, Qatar does not have a lobbying apparatus similar to Israel. They're much more nascent in their. I think Qatar has funded like universities. I've seen
they fund politicians. They fund advertising campaigns,
and they have to register.
Universities.
So then you have to know where the money is coming from. Versus Israel, because they're not required to register as a foreign lobby, the money is much more.
What if we just said no foreign lobbies?
I think a lot of people would love that.
Okay, but then do you
I think a lot of people would love that.
Israel bad. That's
correct.
That is what I'm asking for, is some fairness. And my concern is just like, well, Israel does. Qatar does it more. Nobody has anything to say about that. That's the part where, and as I said, I don't have a dog in this fight.
As the temps start to rise, I get that familiar urge to refresh my closet. But I am done wasting money on trendy pieces that I wear once, which is why I'm obsessed with Quince. The clothes are timeless, elevated, built to last, no insane markup. I'm talking about 100% European linen shorts and dresses that start at just $30. Italian leather platform sandals, luxe swimwear that looks straight off a runway but costs half of what you'd expect. Quince partners directly with top-tier factories, cutting out the middleman so you get designer quality at a price that actually makes sense. And they only work with ethical, responsible manufacturers who care about people and the planet. Personally, I stocked up on the linen tees and the tanks, and believe it or not, a killer summer dress. Occasionally, I do wear dresses. And honestly, it finally feels like my wardrobe matches my standards. Upgrade your wardrobe at Quince.com. Luxury should never mean compromise. Team, give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to Quince.com/Jillian for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/Jillian to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Jillian.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.